What's good, everybody? It's your boy back with another reaction video, and I will be reacting to 5 nightmare-inducing sleep paralysis stories. I actually meant to look at this video with the other video, the sleep paralysis video. Completely forgot, and I had already closed out the video. And I was like, fuck it. I would have to do the video over again or just add it to it. And it's like, oh, I forgot I was going to do it. And I was like, fuck it. I didn't realize it until I actually started editing it. Well, after I edited it and exported the video, and I was like, oh yeah, I wanted to watch these together, but it doesn't matter. This is a short video, so, and I think I've already talked about my sleep paralysis stories. So, but maybe I'll talk about them again at the end of the video. Maybe. I don't want to keep saying the same thing over and over and over again. But anywho, let's just get into this. Alright, here we go.
Has anyone ever had sleep paralysis before? I tell you, it's one of the strangest, most fascinating, yet horrifying things that you could experience. It's the feeling of being unable to move upon awakening. Your senses and awareness are intact, but you still feel as though you're in this half-asleep, half-awake state. I'd heard stories of this long before it happened to me. I've only experienced it once. I was in college. I was going through an incredibly tough time in my life. I was insanely stressed during finals week. I wasn't getting much sleep. It must have been the night before my last finals. I went to bed late because I stayed up all night studying for bio.
Up like 24 hours straight and then going to take a
decided to finally
2-3 hour test.
I just remember it all becoming a blur, then blackness. Next thing I remember, I was in my room. I could only move my eyes to look around the dark room. At one point, when I guess I was looking to one side of the room, I looked back to the center, and there was this woman standing dead center in the room, facing the bed. She was wearing this black dress and holding some long object. I wanted to call her.
Oh, she in a black dress. Does she look good?
Paralysis prevented it.
I
couldn't say anything.
Girl, you look good enough to eat.
The woman came closer to me until she knelt down and touched my forehead. And I could feel it. She got eye to eye with me, and I could see my mother's face. I tried to say mom again, desperately.
Where is this?
I was stuck in my own body.
Like scene from this from a movie or somebody
to the doorway
on YouTube made this, and you know the people are just using it in their videos.
Maybe another 10 to 20 seconds before my vision suddenly became more clear, and I was able to think more clearly as well. I was able to sit up. I jumped out of the bed, screaming mom over and over. I ran to the bedroom hallway, yelling her name. A door opened down the hall, and someone came to hug me, but it wasn't my mom. It was my dad, telling me he misses her too. My mom died 3 weeks before this happened.
Oh, an M. Night Shyamalan twist down there.
You know what I love about dreams? How vague and how bizarre they can be. You feel like you're in this separate world where things can just make no sense. Now, what about when that unearthliness transcends into the quote-unquote real world? You'll see what I mean in a minute. I was in REM sleep having this bizarre nightmare about being followed by some weird creature in the middle of the woods. The dream became fuzzy though, and I kind of woke up from it. I say kind of, because while I was out of the dream and back in my bed, I couldn't move a muscle on my body. I started hearing this faint, weird noise. It was this indescribable, robotic, yet alive type sound. It started light and soft.
That sounded so weird in my earphones.
I noticed it was getting slightly louder every time.
It's siren head.
The sound was getting closer. It got so unbearably loud in my head, I just wanted to scream, but I couldn't.
That is very unsettling.
My eyes locked onto the closet door.
Waking up to that.
The crack in the closet door, which I never leave open, ever. There was this distorted face of a man looking between the crack, with this unhumanly large open-mouthed smile. And every time I heard the noise, it seemed as if the closet and the face were getting closer, until the closet door slammed shut and everything went silent.
This is from Five Nights at
I regained
Freddy's.
control of my body
Or
shortly after
whatever that one when you in the house.
The first thing I did, even though I was 24 years old,
I recognize.
was run to my parents' room to get my dad to check the closet with me. There was nothing in the closet though, or the rest of my room. My dad seemed pretty confident that what I just experienced was sleep paralysis, and that he had experienced it once as well. Didn't make me feel any less disturbed about what I just went through.
Well, it shouldn't. It was like, oh, well, everyone goes through this. It's fine. Like, no. It doesn't matter. Even if everyone did go through it, it's still scary.
Many years ago, I had a sleep paralysis experience. I knew there was a thing in my closet, something really evil, but I also knew I was dreaming and I should face my fear. I tried not to look directly at the closet door.
Sound like the story I told
my head
before.
would turn away. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't look directly at it. Then I woke up in a cold sweat. At first I felt really relieved that it was over, but very shortly I realized it wasn't a dream, and there was really something in the closet. I was laying on my back and couldn't move, and I didn't really hear it, but I could kind of feel the sickening laughter wash over me in waves, emanating from the closet. All of a sudden the thing throws a human head at me and it lands on my chest face up. It was this girl I knew in high school. Up to this point, I was kind of holding it together, terrified but not panicked. Well, I lose it now. I can't even scream. All I could do is make these grunting sounds and moaning noises.
So you were terrified, but you weren't
I'm wriggling
panicked,
and straining, trying to rock from side to side to get it off me, but I can't move.
I guess you can be terrified but not show it.
Another minute or two, and then I really woke up.
I don't think you can hide being panicked.
It was so traumatic that for weeks I would be scared when I woke up that I wasn't actually awake, and something horrible could happen at any second. It still makes my skin crawl when I think about that laugh. The thing is, I never heard of sleep paralysis or nightmares at that point in my life. I thought I was losing my mind.
That's the face. He's I hate that movie.
I've suffered sleep paralysis a total of 3 times in my life. The first 2 times, it just consisted of me waking up not being able to move my body. The third time was much different though. I had woken up very early morning, probably like between 5 and 6 a.m. when the sun was just starting to come up. There was light in the room, but barely any. I tried to move, but I had that unfortunately familiar feeling of paralysis, helplessness. My eyes fixated on the wall. There was nothing I could do. Then suddenly, I heard heavy footsteps coming up the stairs of my bedroom. It was my brother, followed by my sister and dad and mom. They were all sobbing hysterically, and they all seemed to be at least a foot
whatever
taller.
These things, I got some big ass necks.
The 4 of them approached my bed, then
They
stopped
got
at the
like
bedside,
anime necks, you know,
towering
anime
over
where
me,
people have
all
big,
4 of them
huge
crying.
necks.
I couldn't move. I wanted to cry for help or just yell at them to stop because they were scaring me. Their heights, they looked like they were near to hitting the ceiling. Then, just as quickly as they entered,
that's an optical
all 4 of
illusion.
them turned and walked back down the stairs. I could move again, and so I ran down the stairs to follow them, but they weren't in the outside area. I went to each of their rooms one at a time. All 4 of them were fast asleep. My heart was racing because the most surreal, unnerving thing just happened to me. I had to lean on the wall to gather my thoughts for a second, breathing heavily. Falling back asleep was futile the rest of the night. I lay awake until the sun was fully up. A few days later, I was struck by a speeding car when crossing the road with friends.
I was wondering,
ended
so
up
what
with
is showing
3
the
broken
hospital?
bones and a fractured thigh bone.
Sheesh.
I was hospitalized for a week, and at one point, all 4 of my family members stood next to my hospital bed, looking down at me, my mom being emotional and crying.
You were looking into the
It was
future.
almost the same image from my sleep paralysis. I'm not superstitious at all, but if I were, I would 100% believe that dream was some kind of sign, or some kind of prediction of the future. In fact, I just got chills writing that last sentence, thinking about it.
Too bad I didn't tell you about the fucking car. You know, that would have been great information to know.
There was this one time I was out late drinking with friends. It was some point in the summer of 2016. We were kind of just walking around town and then around the neighborhood. when one of my friends spotted someone hiding in a bush. He pointed and said, "Look," and we all walked a little closer to get a better look. We could see what he was talking about, but just barely. It was bizarre, like someone hiding in this bush in front of this house. When we got too close, apparently, this weird, off-putting sound started coming from the bush. So we all screamed and laughed and ran away. We screamed because it was scary, but laughed because at the same time it was bizarrely funny. And there were a lot of us, so... Anyway, we walked back to our houses respectively, assuming whoever was in that bush was just messing with people. I fell asleep pretty easily that night since I was drunk, but next thing I remember was waking up to the near pitch blackness of my room. I couldn't look at the clock to see what time it was because I literally couldn't move. I was in a sleep paralysis state. I looked around the room with my eyes only and started to hear a familiar noise, the noise we heard coming from that bush. Then I looked straight in front of me, at the foot of my bed, and what I saw was pure nightmare fuel. It was what appeared to be this floating, grotesque,
I was thinking,
horrific
so that
head
sounds
of a demonic
familiar, but I
ghost-like
couldn't
thing.
put it
As
together.
it got closer to me, I realized it wasn't floating. There was a body, but its body blended in with the blackness of the room. Its mouth hung open, and it just kept making the familiar noise from the bush. It got mere inches from my face before it suddenly
sounds like a
just
pig.
faded away, and I was able to let out a scream and move my body. I sat in my bed, panting and
There's a
heart
noise
racing.
like,
I flicked on the lamp and checked around my bed, but that demonic thing was gone.
It sounds like it's trying to belch.
What I just experienced seemed so real, like I was awake for it. It wasn't a dream. I told my parents about it the next day, and they agreed with me that it was sleep paralysis, though they had never heard of anyone seeing freaky shit like that before.
You know, maybe you should talk to some other people that's on this list. They seem to have very similar stories. Look at that. Like a frog? What the fuck is that? Somebody get rabbit. Oh, I did not check to make sure that I was recording. Yeah, it's recording. All right. But yeah, I could just close that. Yeah, so I guess I'll tell my sleep paralysis stories again. I'll tell them fast. Once I was around like 12, I woke up, couldn't move my legs. I can move everything else but my legs. So I guess maybe that's not a sleep paralysis, or I don't know, maybe I had a stroke. I don't know. I don't know, I couldn't move my legs. I fell off the bed trying to get up, crawled to a wall, and I was just like trying, and I kept like scratching my legs, trying to feel something. I couldn't feel it. I mean, I was scratching so much, I started scratching the skin like off my legs, like it started turning reddish. My skin started turning reddish, and couldn't move my legs. And then all of a sudden, after like, I don't know, like 5, maybe 10 minutes, my toes I started being able to wiggle my toes, and then my legs start feeling. You ever had that feeling? I don't think I mentioned it last time, but you know that feeling when your legs fall asleep and you feel like this weird sensation, and then it feels almost like a bunch of needles stabbing your leg. That's the way it felt. So maybe my legs fell asleep, but that has never happened in a bed. So I don't know. It wasn't like I was sleeping on the ground or awkward. I've even slept on the ground before. I've slept on concrete before, and my legs didn't fall asleep like that. I've slept sitting up, and I've fallen asleep standing up, and my legs didn't fall asleep like that. Legs didn't buckle, and I don't know what it was, but that feeling. That's when I really started moving. 'Cause I was like, shit. It was like hurting, and I was able to get up. But it was hard for me to walk for a little bit. Then I was fine, so I don't know what that was. But the other time, I was dreaming. I was asleep in my grandmother's house, in her bedroom, on the floor. Where a lot of times I would fall asleep when I'd be over there visiting her, and she had a closet, and she had like a bunch of garbage bags thrown on one side of the closet. And it was the piece of the wall was missing, so you could just look into the closet. And she just threw like a bunch of garbage bags filled with clothes in them. And I was asleep on the floor, and it was like growling, and like something was trying to get out from underneath the bags, and the growling sounded horrifying, and I couldn't move, and I was like trying to yell, and in my dream I was screaming, like I could hear myself screaming, and I could see like people, my family and stuff in the kitchen, which is right by her bedroom, because you had to actually go through the kitchen to get to her bedroom because it's in the back of the house. I was screaming, no one was responding, like they couldn't hear me, and I was just yelling and screaming, and then things started moving, and then all of a sudden the bag started falling out of the closet. So to me, I was like, the thing was starting to be able to get out, and I was just like screaming, start crying in my dream, and then I woke up and I was at home, and when I woke up, I noticed like I couldn't move. Like I tried to move, I was asleep like this, with my head on my pillow, and then I tried to move and I couldn't move. And it was pitch black, and that plus this, I think at that age, well, most of my child life I slept in the living room on a pull-out couch, so on a pull-out mattress, and so I was in the living room. It was pitch black. I mean, you can make out some things, obviously, because it was always like a light kind of shining through. And even though we had, every apartment we lived in had blinds, it would kind of, illuminate the room. And I said that I couldn't move, and I was like, and I wanted to yell for somebody, but I was afraid that I was gonna get in trouble. Like I did. So I didn't say anything. I just sat and I kept trying to move, couldn't move. And sat there for so long, not being able to move. I don't know how long it was. I couldn't look over. I couldn't see the clock on the VCR. This was back in the day. So like in the early 90s. And then I sat there for so long, I just fell asleep again. And then woke up the next morning and didn't think about it. When I woke up, I just got up like I normally do out of bed. And as soon as I got up, I remembered everything. The dream, waking up and couldn't move. And then I was thinking to myself, was that part of the dream? Did like my dream just switch? And I was in a in my house, and that was part of the dream, or like was that real? Was that could I not move? Because I couldn't move in the dream. So I'm like, oh, maybe I was just, both of those were just dreams. But and I was like, no, I woke up. I know I woke up out of it, and then I was just out. And then, but I never had anything like that again. Not like where I couldn't move in a dream. And I've had dreams where I'm trying to fight somebody, I can move, but for some reason they physically stronger than me and I can't like beat them, but I could still move, But yeah, that was like how old was I? I had to been trying to remember where I was living at. I think I was in the 3rd grade at that time. We was living at, I could have been in the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, or the beginning of my 4th grade, but that was only in 4th grade for a month while I was living over there before I moved to a different place. But yeah, that was scary to me, especially like a little kid. That was, man. And then I remember going over my grandma's house for the longest time. I think, well, it wasn't a real long time, probably like because we went over there every weekend, so probably I think it was like a month or something like that. I refused to go in her room. And then even then after that, I remember I would go in her room, but I would need because she had a back door, was in her room that led out to the backyard, and I was so I needed her door open, the door open to her room that led from the kitchen to her room, and I needed the door open in the back. So if I needed to run, I had 2 options to run either way, and I would probably pick the way I could just run out of the house, and out the front door, because I think at that time she didn't have a screen door, or did she? Oh wait, she did have a screen door. She had that old screen door before they had the glass screen door, and she had the old one with like a had the glass on the top, and then like a glass on the bottom, and like a mesh on the top to let air flow through. And I remember our dad would have that closed and the door open. My grandma said, "Why you got the back door open?" I never explained. I don't think I ever told anybody that story with like any of my family, and then like that happened. But that sleep paralysis thing. But it was never like a big deal because, like I said, it happened once. So I never thought it wasn't like a problem, where I need to tell somebody. But yeah, that stuff can be some scary shit. But anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed my reaction. And if you did, should hit that thumbs up button down below. Be sure to subscribe if you're new here. Hit that bell, you'll be notified when I upload new videos. Comment down below. Share this video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.